Good morning. Welcome to Beacon Unitarian Universalist Congregation. I am Reverend Robin Tanner, one of the co-ministers here at Beacon. I'm joining you from our offices at Beacon in Summit in New Jersey. So good to be with you and good to have some friends here with me this morning. Do y'all want to introduce yourselves?
Sure. Hello, everybody. I'm Dr. Tuli Patel, and I have the honor of being both executive director as well as the lead for the Lifespan Ministry team. And I am a bit of a rule follower. So I'm going to tell everybody, this being our virtual pulpit, that in 2 weeks' time, there will be a special meeting of the congregation to vote on our covenant. That's November 15th at 11:30 a.m. And it's also going to be in the chat. And I'm done. We did it. Over to you.
Okay. Hi, I'm Diana Kaiser, and I'm a member of Beacon, and I'm coming to you from my home in Summit, which if we waved Robin out the window, we could probably see each other. So, hi, Robin.
Hi, Diana. Thanks for being here with us.
Yeah.
And for those just joining us, if it's your first time with us or your second time, we welcome you to join us at Starting Point today. It's a great way to get to know a little bit more about the Beacon community, about Unitarian Universalism, and how to connect, especially now in the virtual spaces that we find ourselves. So that information is going to be in the chat. And I would welcome everyone who is hearing our words right now to go ahead, introduce yourself in the chat. Let us know where you're calling from. I know we have had folks tuning in from all over the world, Sunday to Sunday, and it's always wonderful to get a sense of how the light is really being magnified. I am feeling like we need some light this day, even with daylight savings time, because I think there's a little something happening this week in our country. I'm having trouble remembering what it is.
What could it be?
What could it be? For anyone who might somehow have forgotten, there is indeed an election in the United States that will take place this coming Tuesday. I plan to be in Washington, D.C. I'm going to be traveling to D.C. And part of a more prophetic vote. It's an event that's being co-sponsored by the Samuel DeWitt Proctor Conference and the Poor People's Campaign. I'll be offering a prayer and doing some hosting from the steps of National City Christian Church, which is right there in the heart of DC. What about you all? What are your plans for Election Day? And welcome folks to put in the chat what your plans are. Tuli, what are you going to be doing?
I'm going to be making soup so that it's warm and ready for you when you get home, Robin.
That's great. And Diana, what about you?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Poor People's Campaign to be a nonpartisan poll monitor in Philadelphia. And I think definitely Kristen Peck's going to join me, and I think also Meg Kimberlin.
Wonderful.
Yeah, we've been doing a ton of election or pre-election activities. Beacon sent out about 5,000 postcards for Reclaim Our Vote. We've been phone banking and text banking and writing letters for Vote Forward. Some of us have been canvassing. So, it's been a long haul, but trying to get out as many voices to vote as possible.
Oh, Diana, that has been just a really phenomenal organizing to bear witness to and be a part of. I did some of the letters and dropped them off on Diana's porch. I mean, and the ways in which you as a team have adapted to all of the changes that continue to flow during the election season and beforehand has really been inspirational. And I think it's some of the best living out the Beacon mission. So I really thank you for your leadership. And I'd like to, before we begin our service, just offer a blessing for you as you travel to Pennsylvania, and also a blessing for Kristen and Meg and all of those in our congregation and across the country who are working as poll monitors, who are working in any way to count ballots and to ensure a fair and safe election in this season. So if that's okay with you, I always like to ask people if they're okay being blessed before I launch into a blessing. But let's begin with a blessing this day. If you would join me, and I invite you to just hold that part of you that might feel kind of tender. For me, it's my heart right now. Some of you might just want to hold your hands open like this to receive these words. This day and in the days to come, may the spirit of love and justice, which truly are one, continue to guide and inhabit your being, Diana, and all of those who will be monitoring the polls, who will be counting the ballots, who will be ensuring the machines work, that the paper is taken in, that voters are welcomed and kept safe, and who in the days to come will have the task of certifying votes, completing election counts. May that spirit hold each of you and all of us in safety and in a love that grants the courage to live by our values, to do what is right, to follow what is just, and to hold one another in this season. May it be so. Safe travel to you, Diana.
Thank you.
Tuli, I'll be ready to eat that soup. Thank you. And now, beloved, let us begin with song. We'll start with an opening song, an affirmation. I know this rose will open.
I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know this fear will. I know this fear will. I know my fear will. I know this fear will. I know this rose 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 will. I know my fear will. I know my fear will. I know my soul will. I know this rose 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 will. I know my fear will. I know my fear will. I know my soul will. I know this rose 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 will. Oh, this rose will. I know this rose will open. Open, 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 open,
Good morning. We are Max, Julia, and Sarah Kirsch. This morning, we light our home chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith, with these words. We light this chalice for the light of truth and reality. the warmth of love and compassion, and the fire of commitment and promise. We light this symbol of our faith as we gather together.
It's very hard to wait for something, isn't it? What are some things we have to wait for? Birthdays, Christmas and Easter, and the New Year. The first day of school and the end of school. The end of this pandemic. Such a long list. I know that in Dr. Tooley's house, they are eagerly awaiting Diwali, the Hindu festival of lights, which this year will be on November 14th. They will light diyas or clay lamps and place them by every window to welcome the goddess of wealth, Lakshmi, into their home. This coming Tuesday is another day of waiting. It's a pretty big day for all of the United States of America. It's the national presidential election that happens on the very first Tuesday in November every 4 years. We have to wait 4 years for it to happen again. Very often, we think we will know the results right away, but sometimes that simply does not happen. This has been the case in many elections. It was true for Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln was and continues to be the tallest United States president. He was our 16th president, and he waited all night to see if he had won and would be a U.S. president. He'd waited since he was just a little boy to be president, and he did it when he was 52. But the night of the elections was a long night. From an article in the Smithsonian Magazine, the day before, the town's principal telegraph operator had invited Lincoln to await the returns at the nearby Illinois and Mississippi Telegraph Company headquarters, in whose second-floor office the man had promised, "You can receive the good news without delay and without a noisy crowd inside." By 9 o'clock, Lincoln strode across the square, ascended the stairs of the telegraph building, and installed himself on a sofa, comfortably near the instruments. For a while, the telegraph company's resident superintendent, John J.S. Wilson, grandly announced every result out loud. But eventually, the telegraph operators began handing Lincoln each successive message, which, with slow-motion care, he laid on his knee while he adjusted his spectacles, and then read and reread several times with deliberation. It would have been impossible, a witness agreed, for a bystander to tell that tall, lean, wiry, good-natured, easygoing gentleman, so anxiously inquiring about the success of the local candidates, was the choice of the people to fill the most highest office and important office in the nation. After the win, Lincoln remained the coolest man in that company. Shortly after midnight, Lincoln and his party walked to the nearby ice cream saloon. No one is entirely sure when Lincoln himself finally went to bed. According to one eyewitness, he left the telegraph office for his house at 1:30 a.m. According to another, shortly after 2. Not until 4:45 a.m. did the New York Tribune receive a final bulletin from its Springfield correspondent confirming that Mr. Lincoln has just bid goodnight to the telegraph office and gone home. So, what can we learn from the patience that President Lincoln displayed? Well, we can learn that waiting and being patient is hard to do, but that we have some tools to help us. Perhaps we can call on friends to FaceTime, or take a walk, or perhaps read some words that comfort us, or just come to grips with the truth that whether it stretches out for 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, or several, we are not alone in our waiting and hoping. And that, my friends, is a blessing.
I'm Reverend Emily, and I'm here with 2 Beacon members, Ted Brewer and Sammy. It's so good to have you both here. I wanted to have you here to tell us a little bit about a recent hike that you all went on with our services auction. It's Beacon's biggest fundraiser. And Ted, you have been offering hikes that are much beloved to our wider community. Can you tell us about this one?
Yeah, it was a hike at the Tourne in Boonton, New Jersey, which is one of my favorite spots and has a very nice wide hiking trail that doesn't have the obstacles that you encounter on some other hiking trails. And nearby, where we go right after hiking, is a lovely place, gorge, where the Rockaway River runs through, and it's quite scenic. And I think everybody had a wonderful time the other day when we did it. I certainly did, and I enjoyed the company very much.
Yeah. So yes, I came on the hike. My dad and I, we have this ritual, this practice of taking hikes every Sunday. So this is something that appealed to us personally. And obviously, you know, depending on the climate and the season, hikes are different, but they're all beautiful in their own respective ways. So this was a very nice hike. We did some fall foliage. It was quite pleasant. It was a very pleasant experience. The company was much appreciated. I enjoyed having other people to talk to, especially now, since it's virtual with the pandemic, everything's online, no more parties. I kind of enjoyed the company. So that was quite nice. It was a beautiful, fun, exhilarating experience. And also the Rockaway River, I was honestly expecting it to be a little dull, but it was very, very spectacular. Beautiful scenery. The waterfalls were just gorgeous. So thank you.
Yeah, New Jersey's not really known for its hiking, but there are gorgeous hikes like the one that you're talking about. And Ted, you've really allowed our congregation to explore the great hiking that is there. And Sammy, maybe one day you can take the lead from Ted and start offering hikes, you and your dad, to the rest of the community as well. You can have dueling hikes. All right. Thank you both very much. Now we move into our offering, a time in which we give generously to make sure that Beacon's mission is lived more fully in the world. We thank you now for your generosity. Let's take a breath together. And then I invite you to continue taking some intentional breaths, because I don't know about you, but I forget to intentionally breathe. And then I find myself and my body tense and tight. So let's allow a little bit of release as we breathe in. Release the tightness in our shoulders or in our gut. Release the tightness in our thinking. Release the tightness in our heart. Breathe and release. And as we breathe, let's connect. Connect to that which we call holy, in whatever name we call it. Spirit of life, God of love, still small voice, oneness of all, breath itself. Breathe and release, beloved. Breathe and connect. And as we do so, let's reflect upon the time we live in. This time of the great turning, as the prophet Joanna Macy calls it, the great turning, the great transformation. Who will we be
in this time of great turning. Let us commit to letting go, even perhaps surrendering, letting go of fear, letting go of anger, letting go of control, letting go of resentment. Let's not let these feelings control our minds, our thoughts, the way we interact with others, the way we are in the world. Let's not let those feelings influence who we want to be. Let our labor this day be more like the Sufi dervishes' fierce inner repose. Have you ever seen a whirling dervish going round and round, and the person in the center is centered? Imagine ourselves like that. Let our labor teach us to be at one with the dance that is the turning. Beloved, the world will always be tipping toward chaos. There will be times when our lives feel like they are tipping toward chaos. Let us breathe and release whatever feelings we have so that we do not live from that place. Let us breathe and connect to who we want to be. Capital B, capital E. Breathe and center yourself in that place so that even if the world is teetering toward chaos, our centering may bring a little bit of balance back into the universe, back into our lives. Let it be so, beloved. Breathe. Amen. Ashe. Blessed be.
Hi, my name is Kathy Menendez, and I serve as one of Beacon's chaplains. We extend the care of our community, even when we cannot be together physically. We are reaching out weekly through phone calls and cards. We, along with the ministers, facilitate our virtual pastoral touchpoint on Thursdays at noon, and in person, the outdoor chaplain hour on Sundays. Serving as chaplains has meant so much to us in this time. Each Sunday at Beacon, we invite you to light a candle of sorrow and joy, grief and celebration. So often it's both and. Maybe you're lighting a candle of gratitude and remembrance. Maybe it's one of healing and hope. Maybe it's a candle to give you strength and fortitude. You are welcome to light a candle in your home. If you have children with you, invite them to do so. You can also lift up a name in the chat. We also light a candle of witness for Michael Rivera. Michael was a 32-year-old African American who lived in Newark, New Jersey. Michael was engaged to Nellie Rodriguez, and together they had a 6-year-old son, Michael Jr. Nellie described Michael as a loving father and uncle. He died January 23rd in a Bloomingdale, New Jersey neighborhood after altercations with the police around a suspected shoplifting incident. His family and friends gathered to honor his life on January 30th.
Hold on just a little while longer. just a little while longer, everything will be alright. Everything will be alright. Sing on just a little while longer. Sing on just a little while longer. Sing on just a little while longer. Everything will be alright. Everything will be alright. Better days will surely come. Just you keep on holding on. Every day will be much sweeter than the day before. All you have to do is keep on holding on. Someday soon the rain will end. And better days will come again. Every day will be much sweeter than the day before. All you have to do is keep on holding on. Keep holding on. Start each day with a smile and look toward the light. It's only a matter of time and it won't be long. Just keep holding on. Keep holding on. Better days will soon be here, and all your sadness will disappear. Keep holding on. Keep holding on. Keep holding on. Keep holding on.
Better days. Do you remember better days? Do you ache for them, the touch of loved ones? Sitting together at a shared table. Walking down the street or traveling in public transportation, not estimating the space of 6 feet. Do you ache for elections that felt more grounded in policy and issues
with fear of terror groups and retribution and rising. Better days. Do you remember them? I remember a different day when possibility seemed more bountiful. I remember the first time I voted. It's a little fuzzy, but I think it was my freshman year of college. And I remember that a big storm was gathering force outside. And so as I walked into the polling location, my wet boots started to squeak on the floor as I made my way to the voting booth. I remember closing the curtain behind me and looking at this antiquated machine in my computer-wired brain, trying to make sense and ensure I pushed the right buttons. I remember pulling the lever. Yes, there was a lever. I remember being confused about who to vote for in one office. No, it wasn't the presidential office. I had been raised by what some would call yellow dog Democrats. That's a term that came about in the 20th century to refer to Democrats in the South who were said to be able to vote for anything that was on the Democratic ticket, including a yellow dog. I was raised in a partisan life where no one dared speak at a family gathering of voting Republican, although that changed over the years. What I don't remember of that first time voting is perhaps the most important part. I don't remember having a reason to vote beyond familial identity and routine, duty, found in a story of America that was already crumbling for me. All these years later, as another storm is gathering force, I no longer, beloved, believe in the story of America. The truth is, the founders didn't believe in it either, did they? When the words were penned for that Declaration of Independence, they battled. Jefferson claiming we hold these truths to be sacred and undeniable. Adams and Franklin changing those words to self-evident. But it was not self-evident. And when the words were later scripted in the story to say we, the people, it was only a partial revelation. Because the reason of the day for these flawed founders, who certainly were not saints, the reason of their flawed framework dictated that some were human, others were 3/5, some were completely disregarded and decimated nearly, and others did not count for lack of education, for lack of wealth. We know these stories, and yet again and again, so prominently in our Unitarian Universalist teachings and theology, I hear the Constitution lifted as a canonical text of biblical proportion, and these early founders as saints and seers. But I cannot believe in the story of America any longer. I cannot believe in the vision that needs only minor course correction. Instead, in the middle of this election season, when voting is so flawed and fractured and also taken from so many, denied because of racist voter suppression, I cannot believe in the story of America that says these truths are self-evident, or that we always meant everyone, or that all is sufficient a measure with the particularity of pain and the prophecy of the pastoral crisis that this nation is in and has always been in. I believe the first liberation, the way through this election season and this pandemic and a global climate crisis, the primary act must first be to tell the truth. Audre Lorde, poet and womanist, teaches, we can learn to work and speak when we are afraid, in the same way we have learned to work and speak when we are tired. For we have been socialized to respect fear more than our own needs for language and definition, while we wait in silence for that final luxury of fearlessness. The weight of the silence will choke us. This country is choking. The lies embedded in the story of America will kill us. I don't believe in the story of America, but I do believe in the soul of America. I feel trapped between two massive anxieties, at least two, maybe there's more. One, that the candidate with outright contempt for well over half of these United States will win. And the other, that if the other candidate wins, so many engaged folks will stop fighting for justice because of a settlement for party affiliation, or worse yet, terror groups will rise up. I fear both realities, because in both scenarios, in many, if not all of the scenarios, people's lives are on the line. No matter what happens this election season, I say season because we won't know the outcome that night. No matter what happens, it's not the outcome of the election that is keeping me up at night. It's the outcome of this experiment called democracy. This attempt to listen to a revelation so far beyond the scope of the stories we've been fed and some of us tell. Beneath the stories of manifest destiny and the false, broken treaties and the words and the words and the words of betrayal, I believe in a soul that yet endures. I believe that soul, all souls, reside in each of us. The soul of America is in the mother who votes this day for her son in prison who cannot vote. The soul of America is found in the neighbor who goes to the polling location to vote for their best friend who died because healthcare wasn't expanded. The soul of America resides in the first generation from another land who sends money back home to Honduras with prayers winging. The soul resides in the burnt-out landscape of Pennsylvania where the jobs still aren't coming back and no partisan politicking will put food on the table. The soul resides in the movement of Apache feet and prayer ceremonies this day as the trucks of devastation attempt to move in. And I believe, yes, the soul resides in those I have faced on corners and in streets shouting against my humanity. I refuse this day to allow a contempt to inhabit my being any more than I will permit shame to reduce me to silence. I cannot endorse or endure any longer the conquest and cannon firing bombastic story of America, but I will not abandon the soul of America. In the inadequacies of the articulation of the dream and the betrayal of the founders and the present day partisan politicking machine, I vote now still for that soul. Our salvation as a country, as a people, as the earth itself can never be bound up solely in a single vote or in a false story, but in something greater. So I am imploring us all to hold on just a little bit longer. The first liberation is to tell the truth. The final liberation is that oversoul, universal love, all souls that smash our inadequacies of how we conceive of one another and refutes all the lies. The final liberation is allowing the oversoul, all souls, to move in your being and to live with that trust, with that drive, with that truth in your own soul. The storms are building, beloved, and the swells of our own anxiety sound like sirens in these days and nights. But I'm telling you, hold on just a little bit longer. Fight on just a little bit longer. Love on just a little bit longer. For this day, the soul of America may at last be born.
You've got to do when the Spirit says do. You got to do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you got to do. Oh Lord, you got to do when the Spirit says do. You got to sing when the Spirit says sing. You got to sing when the Spirit says sing. When the Spirit says sing, you got to sing. Oh Lord, you got to sing when the Spirit says sing. You got to dance when the Spirit says dance. You got to dance when the Spirit says dance. When the Spirit says dance, you got to dance. Oh Lord, you got to dance when the Spirit says dance. You got to laugh when the Spirit says laugh. You got to laugh when the Spirit says laugh. When the Spirit says laugh, you got to laugh. Oh Lord, you got to laugh when the Spirit says laugh. You got to do when the Spirit says do. You got to do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you got to do. Oh Lord, you got to do when the Spirit says
I am so grateful to be a part of a broader community that lives boldly into doing when the Spirit says do. That this day, as you hear my words, has opened its doors once more to those who are unhoused to ensure we can help get housing and food and vital essentials to hold the worth and dignity of every person. I am grateful to a community that emboldens and inspires my yes to Spirit, that shows up as poll monitors and text banking, that continues to endure a tenacious truth of love for neighbor. I am so grateful for a community that inspires the Spirit to live within me, to allow me to inhabit that Spirit by holding vigil, holding one another, reaching out, and ever expanding who we mean when we say we. For that vision of radical inclusion, for that daring yes to feed the human spirit and heal the world, let us collectively shine a light. Be the beacon this day. I love you, and I'll see you soon.